start at 53. It's especially heavy Harlem to Kedzie, 50 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. The Edens run 17 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose. Kennedy, 30 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Little quicker the Express. Eisenhower, 34 minutes, 390 to downtown. Ryan, 23 minutes, 95th to Duluth. I-57, just a little congested approaching the Burg. Ford, 20 minutes from 8094 to the Ryan. Illinois Tollway traffic still moves pretty well. And that's traffic. I'm Jim Calamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our 1 hour heating and air conditioning weather center, clouds and sunshine today, windy and chilly, a high of 32. Currently 25 at O'Hare. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. And Nikki Haley represented herself at a Hudson Institute speech in advance of 2020. And to advance 2020 and the framing of 2020, which right now is tracking to be, at least in part, capitalism versus socialism. Here's what the former ambassador to the UN had to say on the topic.
This is a country where someone who wants to make the world a better place can. And for these reasons, this country has lifted up more people, unlocked more progress, and unleashed more prosperity than any other country in history. This is America, and the American system is capitalism. Many people avoid saying that word, including some conservatives and business leaders. Some think it's a politically incorrect word. But we shouldn't be ashamed of capitalism. It's another word for freedom. And it springs from America's most cherished ideals.
For more on this topic in the context of the 2020 contest, we're pleased to be joined again by our friend Salena Zito, Washington Examiner reporter, New York Post columnist, CNN contributor, author of The Great Revolt Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics. Salena, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
So do you agree with my assessment that if Bernie is to be the nominee, or really even if he isn't, sans Michael Bloomberg, who is willing to invoke the word capitalism without cringing, it still sets up in 2020 to be at least in principle, in the abstract, capitalism versus socialism in terms of worldview?
Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong. You know, when promoting capitalism and or socialism, whoever is promoting either one is trying to invoke this feeling that you're part of something bigger than yourselves. And with capitalism, that means individualism, freedom, and choice and liberty, and the ability to earn your way up. With socialism, that sort of bringing together is so that the government can take care of every aspect of your life. And so drawing those stark lines, I think, is very important, not only for President Trump to do and point out how people have benefited in their lives from capitalism, but also in the down ballot seats, you know, for House or Senate, or even down to your state legislative bodies. And so I think this is where you're going to see the argument, again, unless it's Mike Bloomberg. But then, you know, he has his own problems with government, involvement, like the big gulp sort of, taking sugar and sodium out of people's diets through the government.
Trans fats.
So that's his own problem.
Well, here's the thing, too, that's sort of surprising. the failure of so many in the pundit class of the left to recognize what was coming with Bernie. I mean, it's not like he just showed up. It's not like he didn't almost topple Hillary Clinton in 2016, despite all of the institutional advantages that she had. It's not like, as Will Bunch writes in the Philadelphia Inquirer, one of your competitors there in Pennsylvania, that there wasn't this manifest disaffection among the Democrat Party base with the party and some of the policies. So, why is Bernie's ascendancy such a surprise to so many on the left? They should have been listening to people on the right who recognized Bernie's populist appeal.
Or read my book, The Great Revolt.
Or read your book.
You go through the first chapter, and it's right there. Or even read any of my reports. There are two people in this country that are running for president right now that have not stopped running since the day President Trump was inaugurated, have been campaigning ever since. And that will be President Trump, who on the day of his inauguration set up his campaign for 2020. And Bernie Sanders, his campaign also never halted. And even if you spent any time on the road like I do, the evidence was everywhere. All you have to do is listen to people. All you have to do is sort of get out of your office in D.C. and New York and actually listen, not talk to people, but listen to people. And the evidence was overwhelming that this was happening. The Democrats kept pushing Joe Biden, and the press kept pushing Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg, but their base was having none of it. And
as you travel, what are you?
Nobody knows that.
Yeah,
Pardon?
as you travel, what are you hearing? As you travel, because we know that you do that, for a living. What are you hearing from people about, said candidates Biden or Sanders or even Mayor Pete?
It is the younger generation, which, historically has not always showed up in great big droves, but the younger generation and also the older 60s boomer generation tend to go towards Bernie, whereas the more suburban voter, the more affluent voter in the Democratic Party and or independents, they tend to go for Bloomberg or Buttigieg. But the energy has been behind Bernie from day one. And the energy voters are the ones that show up in primaries. People tend to not go to a primary in February or March or, April in a closed primary or in a party primary, and more apt to go to just a general election because most people are not obsessed with politics in the way that we are. And so what you get as a result is the more left of the base deciding who's going to be the nominee. This isn't something new. This is what happens historically all the time. It's why the Democrats set up the superdelegate process, because in reaction to McGovern way back in the 70s. But, they've now gotten rid of that process, at least on the first ballot.
Do you think that there's anything stopping Bernie Sanders right now from the nomination?
Well, only the establishment and or elites of the party. I think. Here's what I think happens in South Carolina, having spent some time down there. I think that South Carolina Democrats essentially do what South Carolina Republicans did in 2012, and they give their vote. They give their vote to the one that's more aspirational. So Biden's going to get their vote, as in Newt Gingrich getting their vote in 2012. Both of them have run had run both sort as happy warriors. But I think once we turn, a week later, we're in Super Tuesday, I think all bets are off. And I think Bernie is set to run the tables in those states and have at least a third of the delegates by the time Super Tuesday is over. And, I mean, obviously anything can happen, but
that's your handle on it. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So there was a survey out this week, Politico reported on it, that a third of black voters who identify with the Democrat Party not happy with the potential choices, wish somebody else was running. And this is seen as providing more evidence of some sort of opening for President Trump with black Americans. He seems to be responding to that. The campaign apparently believes that opening is real because the Trump campaign announced yesterday it's opening 15 Black Voices for Trump community centers in the coming weeks in major cities in battleground states. This is not new. It just sort of seems new every 4 years. But in terms of the effort by Republicans to cut into the Democrats' black vote. But is there more potential for Trump to do it than we've seen maybe since, I don't know, Nixon?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those towns they're opening one in is in my hometown of Pittsburgh. And I was at the Trump campaign and saw the rollout. But more importantly, the evidence I have seen the evidence in my interviews across the country. I've interviewed black voters who have said, exactly same thing that white and Hispanic or Asian voters say. I don't really like the way he talks, but I do like his policies. And they have benefited from them. And the other thing that I think sometimes that reporters and pundits miss is that within the parameters of the Democratic Party, the African American vote is more conservative, especially when it comes to the life issue. And so, big government in socialism is not going to be attractive to the African American voter either. They are very much like anybody else. Economic freedom is incredibly important to them. If you go to small towns across the South or in the Midwest, African American voters tend to be small business owners, and spending their weekends with piles and piles of paperwork and bureaucracy, they're not going to vote for more of that.
She is Salena Zito, Washington Examiner reporter, New York Post columnist, CNN contributor. The book, The Great Revolt Inside the Populist Coalition Reshaping American Politics, that all those Democrat establishment types I meant to say types, but tykes is also appropriate because I was thinking of Rahm Emanuel, should have read. Salena, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Google to invest $10 billion in data centers here in the United States. Best Buy releases fourth quarter results, and the coronavirus threatens sellers on Amazon. Those stories next. In a recent survey, investors shared what they felt were the greatest threats to their retirement. It's no surprise the most common threats include stock market volatility, economic uncertainty, conflict in the Middle East, the 2020 presidential impeachment and election. Unfortunately, there are many threats beyond your control that can affect your retirement savings. At Goldco, a leader in precious metals, the team believes one way to protect your investment portfolio is with physical gold and silver. Goldco has helped thousands of investors safeguard their retirement, especially in times of uncertainty. In fact, if you call 855-971-2006, Goldco will send you a free 1-ounce silver American Eagle coin. And all you have to do is pay for shipping and handling. No obligation. 100% free. Call 855-971-2006 to get your free silver American Eagle coin. That's 855-971-2006. Google says it will invest more than $10 billion this year on new data centers and offices throughout the country. The new investments will focus